Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly little get-together. We talk about the past week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is David Smith. Tonight, for GamePoints episode 78, we're going to be talking about the GameStop Circle of Life nonsense coming out. We're going to touch on the Zenimax Oculus lawsuit, as much as we can anyways. That thing's pretty goddamn nebulous and full of tech jargon I don't understand, so I'm going to throw that out there. A couple other things, a bit of Square Enix news, but before we even get into any game stuff, I want to ask David, have you seen the new trailer for Samurai Jack Season 5?
You know what's funny is there was like that whole big football thing that happened, but the big takeaways weren't for me the Super Bowl, but it was actually the Stranger Things 2 trailer and Samurai Jack.
Oh, Samurai Jack
Which
played on the
I know
Super Bowl?
Samurai
I
Jack.
missed that.
No, it wasn't played during the Super Bowl, but like those are the only things that I've paid attention to this weekend.
Fair enough. Beeswee, by the way, thanks for joining the chat. We do see you in there. Thanks for joining us here at Game Points episode 78. If you are in the chat, you feel free to join in the conversation whenever you want to, ask questions, what topics you might want to discuss. We'll try to get to it when we can. If you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to comment down below and all that good stuff. As always, regardless of where you're at, feel free to like, subscribe, follow all that stupid stuff that people like to do on the social medias that apparently get people watching things, but I really don't care all that much about it. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first topic right out the gate here, and that is the Zenimax and Oculus fight that was going on.
We talked about that a little bit last week, and it's very technical, lawyery, not a whole lot of fun verbiage in there. It's just really boring, dry, dusty information. But
Absolutely.
the big news is the fact that Zenimax won. So we talked about it a little bit, and the basic thought process is Zenimax was suing Oculus because of the employees that left, and they were thinking that they had actually stolen tech or trade secrets or whatever the hell you call that, and brought it to the Oculus guys.
Yeah,
And that's what the whole lawsuit was for, I guess, in like the simplest terms.
It wasn't the full judgment. It was a partial judgment. By the way, this story comes from a variety of sources, Polygon, The Escapist, Kama Sutra, but I'm going to bring up the Polygon page here. Oculus lawsuit ends with $500 million judgment awarded to Zenimax. The article goes on to say, quote, a Dallas, Texas jury today awarded $500 million to Zenimax after finding that Oculus co-founder Palmer Luckey, and by extension Oculus, failed to comply with a non-disclosure agreement he signed. In awarding Zenimax $500 million, the judge also said that Oculus did not misappropriate trade secrets as contended by Zenimax. Of the $500 million, Oculus is paying for $200 million of it, $50 million for the copyright infringement, and $200 million for the breaking the NDA. And Oculus and Luckey each had to pay $50 million for false designation. A former Oculus CEO, Brendan Iribe, has to also pay $150 million of the same for the final count. Oculus did say they're going to be appealing, but look forward to this eventually putting the case behind them. Long story short, what the jury said here, if I'm getting this right, and keep in mind this is full of,
They
They
lost, but not completely.
Yeah. What this is saying is that the jury said Lucky Palmer and Oculus broke the non-disclosure agreement they had with Zenimax, but they didn't steal their technology.
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, they looked at it and they thought, hey, you know, you guys did something a little shady, but I guess it's not the worst possible thing you could have done.
Yeah.
They kind of split the middle there.
$500 million is nothing to sneeze at, and there's a good chance that's going to get lowered in appeals as it goes on. But keep in mind, this is Facebook money we're talking about here.
That's the big thing.
Is this going to kill VR? No, not really. I didn't think it was. However, Zenimax is seeking an injunction to keep Oculus from selling VR headsets in the meantime. I don't think they're going to get it, especially if the jury said, hey, they didn't steal your shit.
Yeah, they broke an NDA, but whatever. You're going to have a bunch of money paid to you for that.
Yeah. And once again, I just want to reiterate, I am not a legal expert, and I could barely understand most of the tech jargon going through all this stuff.
You always have all the legal articles brought up.
Feel free to
what it is.
Read below at your leisure. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll link all the stories down there so you can go take a look at it. David, do you have anything you want to mention on this?
Not really. It's kind of about what I assumed would happen, that there would be... I honestly figured there was going to be some kind of settlement.
Yeah, so that's what I thought,
hey,
too.
Here's some money, and we don't really want to deal with this anymore. And the entire thing was for ZeniMax to get some Facebook money.
Yeah, the timing of a lawsuit right after Oculus got picked up by Facebook is hardly coincidental. But keep in mind, as we said before, Zenimax tends to be a very litigious company, and in this case, at least, a jury did find that they had some legitimate grievance here to the tune of $500 million.
It's not going to kill Oculus. It's not going to kill VR. It's just people are going to get paid. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Bees, we have an Ed in chat saying that he's not that big into VR. I don't think most people are. I think that's one of the reasons why this story, which is actually a huge story, but isn't really getting reported in many places, is because
not that many people care.
Yeah, not many people care about VR, and two, it really, really gets into the tech lingo real hard and into the legalese, and just people tune out once you start talking to it. Once you start talking about it, they just don't care. So
let's talk about something more exciting than that, though. Let's talk about something that maybe we do care about.
I agree, and that will be BioWare's possible new IP coming out. Now, last week, EA had their big earnings call, and something that was just kind of slipped by things is that they said BioWare has a new IP not only releasing, but coming out in March 2018.
Which is a little ridiculous because that's a year from now, and this is the first anyone's hearing of it. And it's not, hey, here's a new game, but like a brand new product, a brand new franchise.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a standalone game, but it's BioWare. I highly doubt it.
We do know a few things about it. One, it's not going to be an action adventure, or it's not an action adventure and not an RPG, which is way outside BioWare's warehouse. It's going to be something kind of different for them. And two, that, quote, the great RPG character development and story progression that BioWare is known for is going to be in it, end quote, for the most part. What's that mean? Oh, fuck if I know. No one really knows. They did put up on the BioWare blog something to kind of clarify this up a little bit, and here we have right here a note about our new IP. Hi, everyone. As we're working hard to finish Mass Effect Andromeda, I wanted to take a minute to talk about our new IP. As our CEO, Andrew Wilson, mentioned, we're creating a unique IP that will bring players together in exciting new ways. There's much more to say in the coming months, but for now, I wanted to offer this additional background. And then he goes on to kind of fluff up the company a little bit. Shocked
how about a spiritual successor to MDK?
Jade Empire 2 is my jam. I've been waiting for that for a while. But this is a new IP, so it's not either one of those. I'm shocked that this is supposed to release a year from today, and we don't even have a name of the game, no concept art, no rumor of what it is, no really idea of what platforms it's going to be on. You can assume PC, Xbox, and PlayStation.
Well, the big thing is we know BioWare is known for like the Old Republic games back in the day, and then the Dragon Age games, Mass Effect games. Like that's what they're known for, and they all kind of have a similar theme. So what the hell are they making now? It's not going to be an RPG, but it's
I have
RPG
a theory,
elements.
And I don't like it.
Is it Sonic Chronicles 2?
No, it's not Sonic. Was it Sonic the Dark Brotherhood or some shit like that? No, it's not that. I think with how fast the turnaround on this is, and the fact that they're not really willing to talk about it in depth, given the fact that EA is very big on, hey, we have this game coming out, let's start the hype train right now, and that they're kind of keeping this one out of the chest, I think it's going to be a mobile free-to-play game.
Mobile?
Yeah.
Man, nobody plays games on their phone.
No, Beesweave. It's not going to be Switch. I highly doubt it's going to be Switch. Nintendo would have rolled that out during their big conference if it was for Switch.
Oh yeah,
Plus,
they desperately need things to talk about. Yeah. They wouldn't have left anything off of the table.
In addition, EA is, and third parties in general, are extremely gun-shy about putting anything on the Switch. You could tell by that from the fact that EA is only offering up FIFA, which is their biggest franchise and easy to port down to the Switch, and Activision showed up to talk about, what was it, Steep?
Yeah.
Is coming.
Which had already been out for like
or not that, I'm sorry, Ubisoft. Activision is talked about, what did Activision? No, Activision wasn't even there. It was Bethesda that was there. I'm getting my companies mixed up. But yeah, this isn't going to be for the Switch. Sorry, man. My gut tells me this is a mobile free-to-play game. Will it be? I don't know, but I would not be shocked. I'm not looking forward to it if it is, though. Anyways. Next topic. Really don't have a good transition for that.
Terrible.
Square Enix
nonsense
is teasing things way too much about games that aren't even going to come out for like another 2 years. And they released 2 screenshots recently of 2 games that won't see the light of day until 2019 at the earliest. And that is of Kingdom Hearts 3, and I'll bring that up right here. Sora with a Keyblade looking at possibly Yensid's tower. In a pose, I might add, very reminiscent of Final Fantasy VII with Cloud on the cover looking up toward Midgard. In fact, it's celebrating Final Fantasy's 20th anniversary there. They also released a screenshot of the Final Fantasy VII remake, which admittedly looks pretty fucking badass. Get Cloud in the foreground, Sephiroth in the background, the Shinra Tower between them, separating them. My problem is they keep talking about these games, and they are minimum 2 years out.
Oh, yeah. Well, because we already know Final Fantasy VII is going to be episodic.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what they said. I don't even think... Go ahead.
Teased it a while ago, and still all we have to go on is we've now seen the opening of the game redone, really high graphics.
Here's the thing. I don't even think it might be episodic by the end of the day. I don't know if they actually have any hard and set plans set for Final Fantasy VII's remake yet. When they announced it, it was in pre-production. I believe even the director of the game straight up said, I didn't even know I was directing this game until they announced it. So, this crap is... that Square Enix is... Where do I want to go with this?
They don't know how to name games, and they're completely ridiculous.
Yeah. Guys Chapel says, screenshot, I need to see an actual game. I'm thinking Vaporware. That's a great way of saying this. They're putting out all this information because that's kind of what's keeping people's interest in Square Enix at the moment. At least their Japanese division, because their American branch with IDOS and stuff like that are kicking ass, except for Deus Ex. But anyways. But they keep throwing these out as tidbits and morsels for investors and to get people hyped up. But there's nothing here. There's no substance here.
They're desperately trying to get people still excited in these damn games. Because it's like, hey, remember that a million years ago when we were talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 and how that shit still hasn't come out, but we released like Kingdom Hearts 2.9 and a third that comes with all the other bullshit we've already released that's related to this that everyone's played already?
You don't have to make up names, man. Project Octopath Fantasy. Or Project Octopath Traveler. Sorry.
I don't know why they name their shit the way they do, but it drives me up a wall. Just legitimately. I'm surprised they haven't started calling the Final Fantasy VII remake something ridiculous. Final Fantasy VII Advent Dissidia Final Chapters Omega Premix
Dodecahedron
001. Yeah.
Fantasy Simulator 15. Yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of covered everything we need to talk about Square here. They showed 2 screenshots for 2 games that are minimum 2 years away. Fucking stop it. Give us something of substance. The rest of the game industry is moving in the trend of announcing, and then 6 months later you have the game. Work to Fallout 4. You have Mass Effect, even though Mass Effect and John has been talking about it for a while, they didn't give us a release date until 2 months before it comes out. There's been this steady trickle of games being announced right before they come out, and I'm liking that they're going for this. Geist Chapel is the same director on Kingdom Hearts 3 as Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, it is. Oh, that wasn't a question. That's you actually stating that. Yeah, it's the same director working on both games. That's how I know these games aren't coming out till fucking 2019. And the fact that he said he didn't know he was working on Final Fantasy VII.
Now, here's the
They don't know what's going on there.
Because I'm bored of this, so I'm going to jump into the next topic.
Okay.
Still Square related, but they announced that they're actually going to be re-releasing Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age.
Yes.
So that's coming out again in July. So there's your HD remix for Final Fantasy XII. Now my question is, are we going to get a Final Fantasy 15 HD remake before we get Final Fantasy 7?
Possibly. So
I'm pretty damn sure, because they're running out of games to remake at this point.
Well, here's the
12 is what, the last traditional Final Fantasy, because 13's super divisive. People don't always love that.
13 is a
nonsense.
traditional Final Fantasy. So it's 15. So it's hard, you can't really say 12 is the last traditional one.
Neither of them are traditional Final Fantasies. I actually stopped playing 12 because it wasn't a traditional Final Fantasy.
Yeah, 12 was more like an MMO. If you want like a straight turn-based attack across the screen kind of thing, 10 was the last one I could think of that did that.
Yeah. 12 is like a worst version of dot hack. That's all it is.
Yeah. Now, this is Final Fantasy's 30th anniversary. So to go to your, are they going to remake 15 in HD before we get Final Fantasy 7? One of the rumors going around is that we are going to get a Final Fantasy compilation of 1 through 9 on one disc.
All remastered?
I don't know about all remastered. I have
Or
heard
are we gonna get again ports of the stupid CD-ROM versions that came out on a PlayStation, so that I have to play Final Fantasy VI with fucking loading times?
that's
Even the
probably what
original
we'll
version
get.
didn't have any.
That's probably what we'll get, to be honest.
With
I have heard.
terrible audio rips that sound like crap, man. I don't like any of the Final
Yeah,
Fantasy
it's
remakes.
bad.
I'm not gonna. I would rather just play the original game like on the old console or on an emulator where it actually doesn't suck.
I've heard rumors that Final Fantasy VI in particular might get a lot of love. Rumors of an HD remake of that coming out and stuff like that. But keep in mind, all of this is total rumor and heresy.
I won't hold my breath.
Heresy. Almost said heresy. Well, I mean, depending on how you look at it, I guess. But we have no idea. And until we physically see this in our hands, I'm going to go back to a comment that I saw in chat earlier that this shit is vaporware until it actually comes out.
True that.
Square, once again, to rip something from chat, is shitting the bed. And that's what they've been doing for years. Anyways, next topic. Mafia 3 gets DLC details explained out. Now, Mafia 3 was a perfect example of a game that had a great story, excellent acting, a fucking badass narrative, but didn't need to be open world. It suffered from that open world plague of games that we've been having, to where it's like, open world sells, let's make everything open world, and it doesn't need to be. And that's a shame, because the game itself is great other than the gameplay, which is why you got to play the game ultimately. But they do have 3 pieces of DLC coming out. This article does come via Eurogamer, so I'll go ahead and bring this up. Mafia 3's 3-story DLCs get a release schedule. Now, David, did you play Mafia 3 at all?
I actually haven't played the third one yet. I've only played Mafia 2.
Okay. I mean,
Which I
if you play games for story, I can't recommend Mafia 3 enough. If you play it for gameplay, stay away from it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of it. It looks very glitchy.
Yeah.
But I have also heard, that the story is phenomenal. So who knows?
Well,
I might play it at some point when it gets cheap.
Yeah, if you did enjoy Mafia 3, your extra DLC, single-player DLC story bits are as follows. One is Faster Baby, which launches at the end of March and sees the main character Lincoln taking down a corrupt sheriff who is terrorizing civil rights activists. The second one is Stones Unturned in May, which puts Lincoln against an old rival from Vietnam. And the last one, Sign of the Times, comes out in July and sees Lincoln investigating the ritualistic killings by a cult. Cool. I am all down for extra single-player DLC for this one. I do want to take a look at it if it's dirt cheap, or if I can get sent a free copy of it there, 2K. But it's just a... Mafia 3 deals with racism in the 60s and the civil rights movement and how backwards the South was during that time. And it did it in such a, in the after effects of Vietnam, and did it in such a way that was fucking brilliant. And the entire thing is hamstringed by its gameplay. And it's so fucking tragic that this wasn't like a third-person shooter or a first-person shooter even. I know that moves away from what Mafia was, but goddamn, the story to this game deserves a better class of game than what it got.
That's fair. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't play it, so you don't have too much to say on it, unfortunately.
I don't have a whole lot to say about Mafia. I like the Yakuza games.
Yeah, story was great, but not done right. I think the story was done right. It's the gameplay that wasn't done right. But anyways, next topic. Let's talk about how well Sony's doing this year.
Well.
Very, very well. Now, full credit where credit's due. The images that you're about to see up come via Daniel Ahmed. He's known as ZugeEX on Twitter. He is a video game industry analyst and puts out a bunch of charts and graphs and gets into like the sales data and nitty-gritty for it.
This guy knows a lot of shit. We've actually had quite a few little things that if you pay attention to this guy, he'll leak stuff or you'll notice stuff that he's seen because he's deep in the industry somewhere. I just don't know where. Yeah,
he's mainly a financial analyst, and if you like the number side of the video games biz, like I kind of do, he's definitely interesting to take a look at. So, PlayStation has had an excellent year as far as PlayStation 4 sales goes. As you can see right here from this chart that he made, they capped it at 9.7 million units sold in. That's not sold through. That's not the store selling them. That's them shipping them out, which is the biggest third quarter they've had since they've launched the entire system. you might be wondering why we're talking Sony numbers and not Xbox numbers, is because Xbox isn't giving us numbers, and that's probably because they're losing. Not to play.
No, if you remember, they had 3 weeks in a row where they were the best-selling console.
Oh
Remember
yeah, we got numbers for them all day
remember
long.
those 3 weeks before the PS4 Pro came out?
I believe it was
those?
3 months that they actually were topping PlayStation 4 sales.
And then they haven't said anything since the Pro launched.
And like I said, we're not Sony fanboying here. Microsoft was... Sony did the same thing when Microsoft was beating with the Xbox One over the PlayStation 3. Sony wouldn't release any numbers at all. And Microsoft every day was like, we're breaking these sales numbers, and here are these exact figures. You can tell who's losing the console war by how little information they're giving. And that's not to say Xbox Ones aren't selling. It's just they're not selling as much as PlayStation 4s are.
That's the funny thing about this console, like this generation's console war, is because it's not like back in the day. It's not there's one console that sells great and the other one kind of sells okay. They're both actually selling phenomenally. Like the Xbox One is doing fantastic. It's just the PS4 is doing a little bit better.
Ridiculously so. To the point to where, as you can see on this chart, also by ZugaEX from Twitter, PlayStation 4 is currently outpacing sales of the PlayStation 2, which is the biggest selling Nintendo of all time. Or not Nintendo, biggest selling console of all
Video
time.
game console, yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading chat and they're talking about the Switch in there. Speaking of chat, Geist Chapel is saying, let's see how this looks when the Switch comes out. Honestly, man, I don't think the Switch is even going to be a blip on this radar.
Well, that goes back to my thing, is I don't think I highly doubt that a lot of people will buy the Switch as their primary only game console. I think most of the people that are going to buy a Switch are going to be hardcore Nintendo fans and people that already own either an Xbox or a PlayStation.
Yeah, it's going to be a supplemental console.
People that just have like extra money and want to pick up the Nintendo to get the 3 to 5 Nintendo games a year.
Beesweave says the Wii U is selling like shit. A couple of things I want to mention about that. One, sold like shit. I think Nintendo's actually ceased all production on making the Wii U's and have actually pulled them all off the shelves.
They ceased production in Japan. I think they're still working on a couple of them in the U.S. because I haven't seen a cease production for the States yet.
Yeah, I think they're just done, period.
I did see it for Japan. They are just done making them.
Also, to kind of give you an idea if it's selling shit, and please double check this. I don't have these figures in front of me, but I believe I read somewhere that the Wii U is going to end up selling just as much as the Dreamcast did.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. The Dreamcast was phenomenal. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
Fair enough. But yeah, go on Sony. Their hardware is doing pretty good. I don't think that the PlayStation 4 is going to outsell the PlayStation 2. That is a extremely high number, and I don't think they have the market share worldwide to actually do it. One of the reasons why the PlayStation 2 sold so well is mainly because of like Latin America. It was able to come out there very cheap. I could be wrong on that. I don't have the faith to actually back that sentence up. Anyways, yeah, they're selling very well. They're on good track to actually outpace the PlayStation 2. I just don't think they're going to get there. The fact that we don't have numbers from Microsoft is a surefire bet. That means Microsoft is not selling nearly as much. I think we all know that. That sucks because it is selling, like we said. Anyways, next topic. You might have heard about this over last week, but we're going to go talk about not that one. There we go. We're going to talk about GameStop Circle of Life.
I mean, yeah, we'll go into GameStop, but it's kind of just video game store sales in general.
Yeah.
Specific video stores.
What do you know about this story, David?
A bit. Well, I can tell you what I know about GameStop, and that they've been a kind of just shady company for a really long time now. I've had friends that have worked there, and the way they push their employees, the way they force you to sell certain things over other things seems very strange. And it's a very by the number. Like, the people I've talked to that work at a GameStop, when they tell me about their job, it honestly sounds like they work at a car dealership.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it looks at now. In the interest of disclosure, I do not work anymore. I've worked at both a Game Crazy, back when it existed. I managed a Game Crazy for quite a while. And I managed a GameStop for about 3 years or so. I don't work for either one of those companies now. One of them doesn't exist, and the other one I moved and didn't feel like working there anymore. But yeah. Over last week...
Talk all the shit you want about him.
Yeah. Over last week, Jason Schreier at Kotaku, essentially, that's not the right thing. Broke a story, quote-unquote broke, says new GameStop program leads employees to lie to their customers. Now, I put that in quotes because this idea of the circle of life, which is the buy used, trade it in, take that trading credit and put it to pre-orders, and then buy a new game, trade it back in, etc., has been going on for a while. It's just now GameStop has officially put quota numbers behind it that employees have to hit. And it is causing fucking havoc with the employees because let's say, for example, you come in and you want to buy a PlayStation 4. They say, hey, we got it used. You're like, no, I want a new PlayStation 4. I like it, my new consoles. They sell a $400 machine. Awesome. They made $400, right? Well, according to the Circle of Life program, that's $400 of worthless money, essentially. They now have to sell like another $100 of used shit to make up for that $400 new sale. So what is then happening is employees are just saying, no, we don't have that. Because selling the new fucks with the quota numbers that they have to hit from GameStop corporate.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
The
I
article-
don't understand because they have their quota system, right? And you have to sell a
Yeah.
certain number of pre-orders for like every single purchase. You're almost required to have a pre-order sale. You have to have a magazine sale. You have to have a GameStop, whatever the hell their subscription reward card thing is. You have to sell one of those. You got to sell used games. You got to trade in games. Everything but selling stuff that's new because GameStop's dying. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
There used to be a shit ton of video game stores back in the day when you had like EB, Game Crazy, all there was actually a bunch, and then they all died and GameStop took over everything because there wasn't enough room to have a bunch of actual brick and mortar video game stores as digital sales started to rise. Now it's gotten to the point where not a lot of people actually go into the store anymore. I mean, you still have parents that go in to buy stuff for their kids. I mean, you do still have some people that just love going to GameStop and that's what they do. But honestly, a lot of people just don't walk in anymore. There's no reason to. I mean, you can order games on Amazon and still get it release day with like pre-order bonuses and all that other goodies. You can just buy the game online the day of release and download it.
Digital.
Or a lot of games will have the pre-release download where you download it the day before and you're playing it. There you go. You
It
don't have to
unlocks
wait
at
for that.
midnight.
It's
The
just-
writing is on the wall for GameStop, and you can see it in their business practices. They went from just being a straight game store to, oh, we want to now sell and trade iPhones, and we're going to have all these. Have you been to a GameStop lately? It's almost half toy store now. It's full of fucking shirts and collectibles and just all this other shit that they're trying to use to bring in extra revenue because selling games is not working out for them anymore. They're also trying to get the publishing business. You can see them throwing all kinds of shit on the wall to see what sticks, and none of it really is.
I haven't been in a GameStop in a really long time. To actually physically go into one, I haven't done it.
Just physically walk into one and compare it to what you've seen before in the past. It is radically changed. Let me get to chat here and address a couple things. One, Bees Weave is saying, I get $10 for a DS game and $14 for a lightly used iPad too.
That's 10 cents.
That is 10 cents. I don't have... Wow. So here's the thing about that.
It's completely believable because then they turn around and sell it for $14.
I never took umbrage with that, though, because that's ultimately your choice to choose to sell that stuff there or not. And as someone who worked at GameStop, I assure you, if they're giving you 10 cents for something, it's because it ain't selling and they don't really want it. But yeah, I do understand that you feel like you're getting ripped off. Just don't give it to them then in that case. Geist Chapel says he's seen vintage stores popping up like crazy. I tried to buy from them over GameStop. Yeah, I do see a bunch of other smaller the mom and pop game stores kind of coming back, but they're not focused on new stuff. They're focused on carrying like Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Atari shit.
I love those little shops where they have all the super old school stuff. They normally have like one of those really fancy like $3,000 disc cleaners on site, and they have a guy in the back who's just rebuilding old consoles and refurbishing stuff. Yeah. I love those stores.
You are starting to see those pop up everywhere, and I'm all for you going to your local mom and pop shop to buy from them if you can. But back to the story that we got going on right here. This article broke out. GameStop kind of went into panic mode, so much so they actually sent an email to all their employees saying that a vast majority of employees aren't misleading their customers because all these stories come out and people are getting pissed off like, wait a minute, why is my GameStop lying to me? Well, this email from Tony Bartel, who is one of the higher ups in the GameStop management, says, quote, GameStop family, I want to take a moment to address an article that called into question out our Circle of Life program and the exceptional service you provide in our customers every day. In the article, there were behaviors described that indicated our Circle of Life program placed pressure on store associates to mislead customers on a value of certain products. Let me be clear on this. Nothing could be further from the truth. You and I know at GameStop it is absolutely our mission to help customers get the best advice and price on any product we sell through buying, trading, and pre-ordering and earning points. As someone who's worked at a GameStop, this is a fucking lie. The pressure to push used over new, to get pre-orders, to push cards at the threat of your very job has been in full force since when I worked there in 2012 and has gotten exponentially worse. While they may not fire you exactly for not hitting your pre-order quota, they will find some other bullshit way to do it. Because what will happen is your district manager will go to your store manager and say, you need to get rid of this employee or we will get rid of you. It is a fucking lie. And to wit, I must ask, if you will not get fired for not hitting your quotas, why are you having these quotas? I'm going to go back to that article again real quick, because as you go down to the bottom here, you will see... Oh, okay, I don't actually have it here, so I'm bad at that. There was a third article that came out that has story from people who were former and past employees of GameStop saying, I would get nasty emails threatening with my job. The DM would fucking come in and clean out entire stores, firing everyone on there who weren't performing. Employees were terrified to the point where they would actually go around and swap transactions to where if they say you had one guy who sold a bunch of good shit, quote unquote, on one transaction, they would take the hits for other employees to keep other people from getting fired. There is a culture of fear at a GameStop, and there is a sense that upper management looks at anyone working down in the stores as completely expendable. That you should be grateful for working there because you're working at a game store and I can fire your ass and hire 15 just like you. And I am so fucking happy that this is finally getting attention.
I think this is as good a time as any to say don't pre-order.
Yeah, absolutely don't pre-order. There's no need to.
Just don't do it, because all you're doing is you're just letting GameStop perpetuate the cycle of just fucking bullshit.
Yeah. It's fucking tragic that it's finally taken this to get some attention to something that's been going on for years. And also, when you go into a GameStop, the poor son of a bitch behind the counter who's trying to sell you used, who's trying to push the card, who's trying to be super aggressive with pre-orders, just know he doesn't, for the most part, want to be doing that. He's doing that because he literally fears for his job. That's the culture that GameStop upper management has fucking created in their stores. And it needs to be called out. And I'm finally happy that someone of a prominence like Jason Schreier, prominence in games media, I know that's kind of seems self-righteous, but hey, let's face it, he's up there, has finally come out and fucking said, this is dumb. This is terrible. Stop it. And we'll see how this shakes out. But anyways, to sum up, GameStop's aren't going to be around in 5 years anyways. They exist because publishers need someone to push hardware because they can't quite sell hardware digitally yet. But once they really start making the bonds of Amazon and the one-day deliveries and all that,
that's the thing.
GameStop's
There's so many places. There's so many places where you can buy the hardware now. I mean, you can go buy a PS4 at Sears.
Yeah, and that's why they're trying all this random shit. But anyways, rant over.
GameStop's rapidly going the way all of the like brick and mortar CD and music stores went. Like the only ones left are the vintage antique ones.
Championship Vinyl.
Yeah, you can't go into anything when they have racks and racks of brand new CDs that just came out. I mean, they don't exist.
No, and neither will GameStop here soon. But enough about talking about the dying beast that is GameStop. Let's talk about something that we actually care about, and that's games. Specifically games that come out this week, David.
Oh, new games. New games are exciting. Everybody loves new games. So the first game on the list is a PC release, which maybe not everyone wants to play. I probably won't. It's called We Are Chicago.
It's an adventure game dealing with
it's an indie
urban violence in
simulation
Chicago.
Adventure game. Yeah, it's about urban violence in Chicago. You play a guy named Aaron. You grow up on like the south side of Chicago, and you try not to get shot, from what I understand. It's inspired by several true life events from members of the Chicago community. So if you want to get an inside look into what Chicago's like, I guess you can play that game.
I've actually heard excellent things about this game. I don't know if it really qualifies as, I mean, it doesn't qualify as blockbuster, clearly. But if you like the stuff like Firewatch or the walking simulators out there, or some of the Telltale games, probably want to give this one a shot. I'm told it is excellent.
All right, well, let's go to something that I'm far more excited for. Now, this is actually just a game being released on the Xbox One that's already out everywhere else, but it's Crypto the Necrodancer. And if you haven't played that game, and if you're at all interested in rhythm games, definitely check it out. Crypto the Necrodancer is super fun. It's a rhythm-based roguelike where your character will actually move to the beat. There's a constant music, all the enemies are dancing and gyrating, and you jump around to the beat to kill enemies. And basically that's when everyone else moves as well, is to the beat. So you get kind of this cool rhythm. It's got the old school 2D sprite style art, and it's super fun.
It's amazing. I reviewed this for GameCritics.com back 2 years ago.
Soundtrack's phenomenal as well.
Soundtrack is amazing. Not only that, but it also supports custom soundtracks. I tested it out with Dark Side of the Moon, and it fucking worked immaculately.
I think someone's getting robbed at your house.
Yeah, I hear that too. Just gonna have to deal with it.
Bummer. Anyway, Crypto the Necrodancer. I think it's tons of fun. If you have an Xbox One and you haven't played it, you should. A game that I have to bring up because it's on PC and Steven completely forgot about it. Brutal. Spelled with the @ symbol instead of an A.
I forgot about it because it already came out for PlayStation 4.
Yes, but now it's finally on PC, which is exciting for me because I've been waiting for this. Brutal is a basically old school like ASCII text-based roguelike that they then converted into 3D. So think more like the Baldur's Gate games, like the Dark Alliance series, rather, where you have co-op multiplayer going through a dungeon, killing monsters, except for the whole thing has that old school like text style art. So it's very black and white.
It's all ASCII art like the original game Rogue was like.
So anytime you actually pan so you're looking top down, it looks like you're looking at an old text adventure game, but then the camera will pan down and you're seeing full 3D environments, but on a grid system. And I played it. It's tons of fun. I'm actually pretty excited to pick that one up as well. We also have coming out this week Knights of Azure for PC. Again, this is another console release that's coming out on PC. It's action role-playing Koei Tecmo game. I wasn't super highly reviewed, but it's a Knights game, right? Isn't that a thing?
I have no idea.
All right.
It's a franchise I know nothing about.
It's got Japanime girls in it.
That's what's going to sell it. Let's be honest.
Koei Tecmo.
People buy that game looking for animated tits.
That's fair. I mean, some people like that. You do you. Also, Uncanny Valley is coming out. I think, isn't that already out?
That is out on PC as well.
Coming out on Xbox One. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of new stuff this week. It's kind of weird. It's just releases of games that already exist. Uncanny Valley is actually a pretty stylish indie pixel graphic style horror game. It's side-scrolling. It's kind of Silent Hill feeling some of the time. You explore, you're walking left and right to go through these different environments. Scary stuff chases you. There's a cool little story. There's puzzles in it.
Cool little story. What great description of that story, Dave.
Yeah.
It is a 2D horror game. It's cool. I liked it. Give it a look if the price is right. But rounding out this week, and I'm going to take over here.
Are you just stepping on my toes?
Absolutely, because I'm doing the review for this for GameCritics.com, and it is Neo on the PlayStation 4. That's Neo, not Neo from the Matrix. This is
N-I-O-H.
Yes, this is a brutally hard game from Team Ninja, the guys that did, and Koei Tecmo, the guys that did Ninja Gaiden. It is being rightfully so compared to Dark Souls, set in feudal Japan. Instead of fighting,
we've been waiting for this game for a long time. Well, a lot of people have. Neo was, I think, announced before the PS4 came out, and we've just been waiting for it this entire time.
It's been in development hell for quite a long time. It's been finally released, and it is fucking excellent. I'm about 10 hours or so into it, down to a few bosses. The game punishes even the slightest mistake. If you have played any of the Souls games or Bloodborne, you will feel right at home with Neo. It is like, I mean, I can't escape the comparison to the Souls game because that is exactly what it is, but just with that Dynasty Warrior skin slapped on top of it, especially during the
Built
cutscenes.
with a slightly different combat system. It's got different weapon and attacking pacings. It's also got a completely different theme on it. Slightly less obscure, I'm thinking, than Dark Souls, but it looks super good.
It is. It's a lot faster paced than Dark Souls. It's more Ninja Gaiden in that respect. The combat system is far more in depth than it was in Dark Souls as well. There are 3 stances that you can switch from: high, medium, and low, which is essentially power, mid, and light. A lot of Dark Souls influence on there, though. So if you like those games, I highly recommend picking it up. Just be aware that it punishes even the slightest mistake more so than any Souls game that I've ever played.
Now, question, because I'm going to go out really quick and just ask, do you know if Neo has any PS4 Pro features, or if it's actually being built with that? Because I know a lot of the newer games are coming out having built-in Pro features, but not all of them, and a lot of the old ones don't.
There are 2 things I actually don't have the answer for in my time with Neo. One is I have no idea if it has any PlayStation 4 Pro added stuff on top. No idea. 2, it does have an online component to it, but when I'm playing it, since I do have a pre-release copy, it's not fully activated yet. So that stuff I don't have full details on.
That's fair. Now, going along that lines, I don't know. We didn't talk about this earlier, and I meant to, but the upcoming PS4 firmware update 4.5 is going to add a boost mode to the PS4 Pro, and specifically what that's for is actually boosting the older games that don't have any Pro support. So it's going to actually have the system run at a higher clock speed, the graphics card do the same. Basically, it's going to overclock itself in order to run those old games, which should help with loading times, should smooth things out. So it should be cool. But they still don't have a full list of exactly what it's going to work with.
I still don't think anyone really knows what the PlayStation 4 truly does yet, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Bees Weaves, thanks for joining us. I know you got to go. I appreciate it. Sam Grizzle, thanks for joining the chat. Feel free to drop in and chat about whatever we're talking about. Actually, right now is a good time to. Right now is actually a good time to log on because this is the most interactive part of the show, and that's our topic of the week. And this week's topic of the week is: can a game actually be too hard? Now, with Neo releasing, it is getting a lot of comparison to Dark Souls. Polygon had to actually delay their review of it by a couple days because the poor guy playing it just couldn't fucking beat it. And I know it's fun to make fun of Polygon's gameplay skills, but let me fucking tell you, Neo does not fuck around. It beats the holy hell out of you left and right. To the point to where I can understand a lot of people just going, fuck this is way too hard. I don't even want to touch it. So that is the question. Can a game actually be too hard? Can there be a game so hard that is just not only not enjoyable, but actively detrimental to the gameplay it's trying to convey?
I would say it definitely depends on who you're asking. Now, I kind of thought this out a little bit, and for me, personally, no. I don't think there's a game that's too hard because, in my opinion, there's always a market for that just absolutely difficult, challenging, frustrating game. But as long as it's something that you're able to overcome and get through, then I'm for it. As long as it's like actually physically possible to do. Now, if the game's just buggy and shitty and has poor controls and you can't, and if it's hard because the gameplay is bad, yes, I'll absolutely draw a line. There's definitely games that are too hard because they're just shit controls. They don't play well. There's platforming elements that don't need to be there. Looking at you, Blighttown. And that mode I can see. But if it's a game that's just fucking difficult, like I'm thinking of the Ninja Gaiden game when it came out, and how everyone's like, "Fuck, this game is so damn hard." But getting through it and beating the next boss was rewarding. Same with Dark Souls. Same with Demon Souls. That shit was rough when you first started, but once you start figuring out patterns, you got through it. It makes me feel like I did when I was a kid, and I'm trying to get through Mega Man and shit. I got to figure out the boss. I got to figure out which upgrades I need to get to kill whatever other boss, and that's fun to me.
Geist Chapel in chat makes a good point. He says there's a thin line between hard and broken, and that's exactly what the key here is.
Yeah,
games are extremely hard that aren't broken. Ninja Gaiden, Dark Souls, games that when you die, it's because you know that you fucked up. Broken, however, Let me tell you a story about one of the hardest fucking gaming segments I ever had to deal with, and it was actually from The Evil Within. There was one boss in particular that kicked my ass over and over and over again. And it wasn't because of the fact that I wasn't good. It wasn't because the game was supposed to be hard. It's because the fucking camera in that game is atrocious, and it used Resident Evil style tank controls with fine aiming to do it.
Oof. So
That's
I have
fucking
one.
broken. That's not hard because the game is hard. That's hard because the mechanics are bullshit for that kind of boss fight. And that's where I draw the line. So I agree in that I don't think a game can be too hard, but I do think that if you don't nail your mechanics, you can really fuck up the experience and just make it go from hard to just frustrating, especially when it's shit beyond your control.
Yeah, I have an example like that. So back in the original Xbox days, I was playing Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, on very hard, playing through that game. At the end of the game, you actually get grabbed several times by one of the bosses, and he starts like choking the character, and the only way to escape it is to repeatedly like smash the X button. Now, getting through that is normally not the worst thing in the world. I'm pretty good at smashing a button rapidly. But with the original Xbox, if you remember, it had those pressure sensitive buttons where it kind of had like the two inputs, like halfway down and full all the way down. And in order for the button presses to register, you had to actually fully depress the button. But when you're pressing it that fast, the controller hardware itself couldn't actually handle the correct number of inputs to survive that scene. You can look this up because I don't think anyone's ever fucking done it. But playing Metal Gear Solid 2 on an original Xbox controller on very hard and trying to get past that flipping boss is impossible unless you have like a third-party controller. Because I
With
was
the
never
auto
able to do it.
on, yeah.
It
So
was just, it literally like the game was over for me at that point. I
we've
could
talked
not
about
do it. Had friends try it. It was just fucking impossible. Drove me insane.
we've talked about games that are too hard because they're mechanically broken. Has there ever been a game that you have just stopped out of pure frustration, not because it was broken, but because you just couldn't fucking do it?
I want to be the guy on PC.
I was going to bring up I want to be the Bashi.
Yeah, I want to be the guy. I'm sure there's people that have made Mario Maker levels that I wouldn't play because there is some stuff that's just, it's not necessarily hard in the sense that like the traditional sense. It's hard because it's just purposely devious and it's
Yeah,
meant to kill
it's
you.
trolly as fuck.
Exactly. It's meant to kill you every single step, and so the only way to get through it is to play it 8 million times until you learn every single step that kills you, and you don't do that one.
Now,
And I while I get how that can be entertaining for some people, for me, I don't find that to be any fun at all. I don't want to
yeah,
die in the same room 3,000 times so I can learn I need to jump at this exact pixel and then move 2 spaces to the right and then duck so that I don't get killed by this invisible flamethrower or whatever the fuck's going to pop out the wall at me.
yeah.
I don't need that.
With the Souls games and the Ninja Gaiden games, shit is going to come at you and kill you instantaneously, but you still have the ability to like react to it. There's a good chance you're not going to. But stuff like the fan games, like I Want to Be the Guy, I Want to Be the Bashi, Wings of Faith, the other game by Solgren, that shit is just designed to be gotcha, bitch, over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's more designed to be annoying, in my opinion, than just flat out hard.
That said, I respect the fuck out of people that can actually beat those games. I think there's someone that's done like a no-death run of Bashi, which is just fucking amazing. Let's dial it back a little bit. You ever play Super Meat Boy?
Yeah, love Super Meat Boy.
Do you think that's the good balance there?
I think Super Meat Boy is a phenomenal game as long as you play it on a controller. I don't know.
Yeah, don't try it on a mouse and keyboard for damn sure.
Well, I've seen people do it. I've seen people do fantastic with it. I
Well,
can't
shit,
personally.
I watched someone beat Bloodborne with a guitar.
Yeah,
the Rock
everything's
Band
possible,
guitar.
and some people will actually create extra challenges for themselves. So it's not an impossible topic, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't even think about Mario Maker though when you brought that up because there are some just truly devious Mario Maker levels, and I definitely agree with you on this. I like difficulty, and I don't mind if it's really hard. And sometimes I'll go, you know what, I don't have the time for this, I'm putting it down. What I cannot fucking abide is when a game trolls you over and over and over again, like some of those Mario Makers. And you know what? I know I keep going back to the Souls games, but let's face it, that's kind of the gold standard. That's the one that we all recognize. Those games will troll your ass too occasionally.
Oh man, the first time anyone finds a mimic in the first game, you die.
Yeah.
I'm like, unless someone told you that there's mimics in that game, I guarantee everyone that's tried it for the first time gets killed by one of them.
Yes. But it's not over and over and over again. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just
Because
a
you learn.
repeated beating.
Shit. And then okay, I should probably kick or slash every box I see before I try and open it. And then, hey, strategy.
Yeah. Guys, Chaplain chat saying there's a perfect balance between trial and error. Yes, that's the point. It can't just be strictly trial and error over and over again. You have to find that like fine line between the two. It just can't be, oh, you're walking this room, you're going to die. You're walking this room, now you're going to die.
I think he's talking about Super Meat Boy.
Oh, is it? Okay. I'm a little bit behind on chat, so if it is.
Yeah.
Its design requires Destiny first play. Yeah, Super Meat Boy, if that is what you're referring to, Geist, is a little bit of a different beast, too, because that game is not so much beating the game. You can beat the game if you power through it. Where a lot of the entertainment for that game comes in for a lot of people are the speed runs of it, and that game is designed to be speed runned.
Yeah, well, and there's also the challenges of finding the extra things in the levels and getting 100% and all that other fun stuff.
It's definitely, I mean, so to answer the question, can a game be too hard? No.
Just no.
However,
well, again, it's potentially possible if the game is created in such a way that it is just poorly designed and hard on top of that.
That's what I was about to get on. Can a game be too hard? No. But the harder you make the game, the more tools you must make available to the person playing it to be able to actually overcome your game.
The more you want to turn that difficulty scale up, the more you need to like fine-tune your controls. The controls need to be tight, it needs to be responsive, and it needs to actually reward the players for learning the systems and being able to play well.
Yeah, you can crank your game up to be obscenely difficult as long as when I'm dying, it feels like I'm the one that fucked up, not the game cheated me out of it. Go to town. I might not play your game all the way through. I might say, fuck it, and stop halfway through. But I'll definitely at least not bash your game for being bullshit.
I think the rise of the roguelikes right now really kind of sell that concept that people aren't scared of hard games. And there was that whole period of time from like the late 90s to the mid 2000s where every game was just a baby's game, walking you through it, holding your hand, like, hey, welcome to the game, and now we're going to have you literally sit down and learn the controls over the next 4 minutes while you do no other things. Okay, move the left stick forward a little bit. Congratulations, you're able to walk. High five, explosions, whatever the fuck bullshit. I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
And I get why it happened. People just thought, okay, controllers are starting to have more buttons because we went from a controller that had 4 buttons to controllers that now have 16 buttons to controllers that, it gets a little ridiculous. And some games are really complicated to play, but I prefer it when it teaches you how to play via gameplay or in just a simpler manner. It doesn't have to be so obtrusive. So
let me go hit up chat a few more times before we find out the topic here. Sam Grizzle says, Skyrim had a great balance of challenging and fun. Some of the bosses took outside-the-box strategy to beat, especially at lower levels, and in many ways to skin a cat. That's very cool. Yeah, Skyrim... That's a game that I wonder if there's a mod for that actually cranks up the difficulty, too. Because that game, you can get so freaking overpowered that everything just dies in one hit.
If you're playing on PC, there's like a real combat mod or the Skyrim redone mod, which completely changes the skill trees, the difficulty. It actually makes the areas zoned so the monsters are at a certain level as opposed to scaling with your level, but you can turn that feature off. But the big thing is it completely redoes the combat mechanics so that blocking and things like that are much more important. Like you really have to pay attention to your stamina. You really have to time your blocks better because you will get chunked out and you can die in a single arrowhead shot.
Okay,
it makes the game way tougher, way more strategic, but a lot of fun.
Geist Chapel says some games are bastards. I remember playing through Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3 on a Nintendo, and that's a beast. The Nintendo is a great system to bring up for this conversation because that had some fucking amazing games like Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3, where if you died, you knew it was your fault. You fucked up. But then again, it had also the exact extreme opposite in games like Silver Surfer, which are notoriously hard, not because the gameplay is tight, but because the game is fucking broken. That's like the perfect A-B comparison to what we're getting at here, if you want to go way back in the annals of gaming history there to do it. Anyways, I think
with that, obviously, we can't just talk about difficult games without throwing back and seeing what was the hardest game that you've actually gotten through. The hardest game that you can think of that you played and we're like, fuck, this game is so damn hard, but you grinded through it and you beat it. And it doesn't have to be recent. It doesn't have to be like, if you sit and think about it for a second, what's the hardest damn game that you've played and beaten?
Hardest as in hard but mechanically good, so it was my fault when I fucked up, or just the fucking slog of being bashed in the head over and over again until you said, fuck it, I'm beating this.
If you want to pick both, you can, but I mean, I'd like hard, but you could beat it. It's just your fault.
So the hardest mechanical game that I've beaten is Bloodborne.
Really?
And I'm talking full clear all bosses, including DLC, including the fucking the Viker in the Bloodborne DLC, whose name escapes me. I think it's Leonard or Lawrence the First Viker, including him in the Orphan of Kos and all that. That's probably the hardest mechanically sound game that I've beaten. The most frustrating game that I fucking bashed my head up against too, because I was just determined to beat it, was actually a role-playing game called Digital Devil Saga 2. Because to beat the final boss, I had to grind out 45 levels. And let me tell you something. Those levels did not come quick. What about you, David?
So I'm going to go back to a time when there was still movie games coming out constantly. We're going to go all the way back to 1993 to a game that came out on Super Nintendo that I always felt was the hardest damn game of my childhood.
Terminator 2.
And after playing through like the Souls games and all this other stuff, I've tried to go back and play it just to see if I was kidding myself, if I just sucked at games. No, fuck it. The Lawnmower Man for Super Nintendo is hard as fuck, but I beat it, and I was like 8.
That game is fucking horrible too. That is a terrible game.
Yeah, but when you're a kid and you can't afford that many games, and your grandma buys you whatever she finds on sale at a whatever discount store,
you're stuck with it.
You play whatever you want. And yes, I played the Lawnmower Man game, and I beat Job, and I was so excited that that damn game was over. And then it turns out, what the shit? All of a sudden, I'm in a car. It's taken me months and months and months to finally beat Job. I thought that was it. I made it. You can get 3 lives in that damn game. No, you're in a car. Turns out you played through the second movie that no one ever saw. Game keeps going for hours.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know the game fucking goes to the second movie.
No, the game goes past Job. Job is on the cover. Job is who you're talking to the entire time. And you beat it, and then all of a sudden it's a top-down view. You can pick a motorcycle or a car, and you're in a driving... It looks like fucking Spy Hunter. You're driving through roads and streets trying to get to the Institute. It's just bullshit.
All right.
But I've done it.
Congratulations. You'll never get
Thanks.
that time back.
I know. I won't.
Anyways, I think that wraps things up. Thank you.
Although, first I have to shout out Geist Chapel in chat says that he beat Smash TV on arcade with 1 quarter, and that's amazing.
That is pretty fucking impressive. That was GamePoints episode 78. Thank you for joining us here live at twitch.tv/GamePoints. We do broadcast every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time here at the previous address because I can't exit right. Feel free to show up, join the conversation, chat. We try to be interactive when we can. If you can't join us on Mondays, you can take a look at our YouTube channel, which the link is down below on the info page. It'll have all of our past episodes on there in varying degrees of quality. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, follow, all that good stuff we're trying to get to you. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, it is at GamePointsPC. If you want to follow us individually, I'm Stephen Brown at CapitalistPig21. That's David Smith at Palshore_Satori. Once again...
Palshore?
Palshife Satori. Sorry, I've been talking for an hour straight. My words are starting to slur and my throat's very dry.
Fine. That's fine. You want me to wrap it up?
This has been Game Points. Thank you for joining. We'll see you again next week. But until then, we're out of here.
Don't pre-order.